Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast, proudly brought to you by Pat and George from Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. We're back for NRL Supercoach Round 8. Just quietly, pretty happy to put NRL Supercoach Round 7 in the past. It was a tough week. All around, though, I wouldn't be too hurt by it, though, if you had a shocking round. I think the range of scoring across the board was pretty poor, so I don't think anyone was hurt too badly. Here to talk me through a much more promising round 8 on the horizon is the SC Spy. Spy, how are you, mate?
How are you, boys? Yeah, I'm freshened up after a couple of family holidays, back-to-back weekends, just back to Savo. Obviously had to be back for the pod. Things needed, so happy
priorities.
days. That's it, mate. But, yeah, the squad's... You know, I think I've said this exact same thing the last month. Happy with the squad, building nicely, but just can't quite manage to take a leap yet. So I've got faith that big round's coming that sort of skyrockets the team into sort of relevance. But at the moment, tracking along okay.
Have you run out of trade yet, Spy?
Getting there, mate.
Must be bloody close.
We'll see what happens on the trade front at the end of this episode and we'll go from there. But, yeah, I obviously sold Harry last week, so I was stoked about that. And then, but unfortunately, Reid produced a bit of a shocker on Sunday, to be honest. He had errors, he had 4 penalties. He still beat him, so that's good. And then that combined with Kiraz going down, the poor bugger, hurt on Sunday Arvo. I was looking at 1,100, but ended up on 1040 odd with, Reid, Manu and Kiraz combining for 38 in total.
With the buy coming up in a couple of weeks, that looked like an absolute masterstroke, that Harry Grant trade. Your Spy Talk article spoke through all your potential options and the pros and cons of selling Harry, holding Harry, what all your plans were going through. And look, I still think it looked like a pretty damn good trade. Obviously, Manu didn't pay off for you there, but still looks all right. Also with me is a bloke playing a bit more conservatively this year, and it's paying off for him, Dez Creek. Desi. The 2019 NRL Supercoach champion, Dez Creek.
Thanks, Timmy. Going not too bad. Sitting pretty at the top of the SC Playbook League. Coming around 4700th. Obviously, Latrell gone big the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, still don't have Reece Walsh, and it's annoying me. I'm getting pissed off.
I think you've got through the tough run, mate. I reckon there's a bit of a sneaky pod play, or anti-pod play, I should say, just about to get rid of Reece Walsh there. So I think you through a tough period, and in saying that, Reece Walsh cannot put a foot wrong. The mighty Cooma Stallions are on the charge. They're into the top 10,000, 1,103 points last week. So making a few moves there into the 9,000, so getting there gradually. Team set up good, so I've sort of said the last few weeks, a bit like the Spy, that happy with how the team has been set up, and we're starting to see a few decent green arrows off the back of it. Saved a few trades here and there as well, so yeah, looking okay. Guys, Walsh and Carlos, the great Walsh boys, has started his own solo podcast as a part of the SC Playbook channel. One of the great minds of rugby league and of Supercoach, played at really, really good levels, had a bunch of injuries, the poor bugger growing up, but coached at some really good levels, and he's been a staple of the SC Playbook team since we started out a few years back. Since we went in studio, he's a Rockhampton boy, he's a Queenslander. The only downside to Walsh, I think, is he's a damn good bloke, but as a result of that, we haven't been able to get him on the podcast, so we said, you know what, stuff it, we'll give him his own. Desi Spy, how good is it just being in chats with him and listening to what he has to say?
He's a great man, the Walsh, and as you said, very, very knowledgeable, but also very, very passionate. He's not afraid to tell you what he thinks, which is good. We have some lively debates on our chats, and often I agree with him, but it's just one of them things. There's always a discussion point with Walsh, and it's good to have. That's
all you need in Supercoach, that back and forth. Crucial.
Loves a debate, loves talking about something, speaks with his heart. I shouldn't say I should speaks with his mind more often. Yeah. The only time Walsh, for anyone that is new to the SC Playbook podcast, finished runner-up to you, Desi, in 2019. The only time Walsh's heart gets way in his head, very logical thinker, is when it comes to his Warriors. He tries to start every season with about 8 Warriors players until we say, mate, what did we say last year? What did we say last year? And you bring him back, and you bring him back.
Funnily enough, this is the year he probably could have done it. He could have got away with Sean Johnson.
Anyway, so that will be dropping Sunday nights from now on, and started last week. Go jump back, have a listen to it. It's an absolute cracker. Guys, on today's show, the key takes from Team List Tuesday, and boy, do we have some big stuff in that. The topic for this week, we're going to be touching on the guns that we're looking to hold through Origin. So when I say that, the Origin-relevant guns, the sides, more so the ones that are on the bye after the major Origin bye week. So really interesting. I don't think people have had a lot of a look at it. Not as scary as I think we all anticipate. Also looking at the teams that play on the quick backup. Our hot topics. There wasn't a lot of clarity this week around the best cheapies to come through. I thought there might have been, but there's still question marks around a lot of them. So where do we cash in a lot of these fattened cows? Of course, our round 8 trades and skipper plans and our listener questions. Boys, let's get stuck into Team this Tuesday. And holy moly, Dez Creek, hasn't it been turned on its head? Sam Walker dropped for the Roosters. Joey Manu to 5'8". This correlating fixture last year, not the Anzac Day game, but the Dragons versus Roosters clash near ended I was sitting really good and I was optimistic. I think I was sitting about 90th or 100th, late-ish on the season, early back start parts of the season. Sold Joey Manu over, for some reason, to Brian Toto from memory, and he came out and scored 191 on the Dragons, so a bit of PTSD kicking on this one. Manu 5'8", huge.
Yeah, I remember that game like it was yesterday. I initially I wasn't that keen on Manu this week at centre because I think, I was telling you boys, I think teams have worked him out in the centre position. You need to really put lots of defenders on him. But at 5'8", you just can't go past him. He's going to have so many more touches, hands on the ball. I think he averages about 100 there, full stop. So get him in as soon as you can. Number 1 trade target this week.
Yeah, averaging a tick over 100 there. Spy 623k. He was just about to bottom out anyway. Break even of 106. Only averaging 46 points this season. Where do you sit on him?
100 million% get him in. I've also got that PTSD. 191 last year. I've spoken about it before, but I wasn't going quite as well as you. I was into about 950. There was about 8 or 9 rounds left, and he came out on the Saturday Arvo, went bananas. And then, I don't know if you did as well, but I captained Pappenhausen the next day, who was red hot, and he busted his knee for 35. So it completely decimated me. So for that reason, I certainly won't be hesitating this week. He's got a high break even, but it just doesn't matter.
He'll hit it.
I think he's likely to hit it? He's every chance to hit it. And if he doesn't, he'll probably get 80 or 90. So, I think you're probably mad not to get him in, to be honest.
An exciting thing to come out of that is that, particularly as a Ruben Garrick owner who held through that bye last week, is that I think all the Jacob Kiraz owners who's out for 3 weeks were flipping straight to Garrick. All of a sudden, there's the question now, Garrick or Manu. So as someone who's going to own both of them, hopefully, we'll see a few things to pan out still, but it looks that way. It's throwing things wide open a little bit this week, which excites me. Moving on, Angus Crichton named to start in the back row for the Sydney Roosters. That is just an absolute sight to see. So stoked for Crichton. Obviously concerns around his future early on in the season, but he's been named to start for the Roosters there in the Anzac Day game. Cannot wait to see him back. Satili Tupanua also named to play off the bench for the Roosters. Boys, Hayes Dunster, 235k, break even, about 25-30 odd. Looked like a potential cheapie option this week, particularly with buy coverage for Parramatta. Bailey Simonson, who'd been out for a couple of weeks, has been named to return on the extended bench. So Dunster named. Does he interest you as a downgrade, as a bit of a cash grab, particularly with players like Warbrick, Cart Pereira, Alamotti, who we're looking to downgrade?
I haven't taken a huge look at him. Obviously, he hasn't scored that much so far. So they haven't played the hardest teams, Parramatta. So not that keen on him. I think there's probably some other cheapies around that are possibly better or mid-ranges. But I'm also not looking to move on AKP and Warbrick as fast as other people. Happy
to play the longer game with him, try and eke a bit more cash out of him. I think Spy, Hayes Dunster, break even to 37. 7 points against the Tigers somehow, and then 27 against the Doggies. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, luckily they're the second game of the week this round, so we'll find out if Bailey Simonson does come onto that wing come Friday night at 8 o'clock. But for me, he probably looks a pretty good downgrade target with that risk that he may not hold his spot. You don't have to get him this week with that break even, but if you're looking to downgrade someone like a Kalyn Ponga, which I am, I think he may have peaked, then you might have to take a punt on someone this week. If he gets that starting spot, as good as any, I think. I don't think you'd probably play him too often in your 17, but look, on the end of a Parra backline, he's a pretty good footballer. He's coming back from injury. He should only improve. And he plays major buys. So I think there's worse targets, but just be aware you could bring him in and he could be out by next week.
Yeah, I don't mind it. And I suppose another one that people are flocking to this week, Jared Croker, he's about 280k. The concern with Croak for me is that Xavier Savage returned to New South Wales Cup on the weekend. Now, Seb Chris has been going really well at fullback. I suspect that Savage comes back in at fullback. Maybe wrong, because Sebi Chris had his best game at fullback on the weekend, but I think it has to happen. So, Seb Chris comes back in at centre. Jared Croker drops out. So they're not dropping Matty Timoko, not dropping Geordie Rapana, who is obviously on one wing. Nick Kochik went off with a hamstring injury. So we'll get more information on that Nick Kochik hamstring injury, but the way I see it, if Kochik's out for a while, Chris can play on the wing, which would be handy for his yardage, his ball carries coming out of his own end. But Kochik and Rapana are the wingers, Timoko and Sebi are centres. I love Jared Croker, but unless they decide to keep Seb at fullback spy, how do you see it?
I think they're 2 in a row. Is that right?
Yeah,
the Raiders.
It's a winning team.
They're not going to change it immediately, but yeah, if they were to lose one game convincingly or lose a couple on the trot, then you're right. Croaks is right in the firing line there, just given the makeup of their side more than anything.
It's just one I'd be worried about doing this week with them on the bye. I just really want to see that team list next week.
Again, it's just one of those things, if you need to go to someone this week to get the money for one of these guns we'll be talking about, or a Manu, then you might have to take the punt on him. Personally, I prefer Dunster. He hopefully has earned that role. He's younger, he's got probably upside. But, I'd go Dunster over Croker, but yeah, it's a gamble on Croaks. We just don't know how it's going to play out.
Jermaine, Hopgood owners, myself included, very, very happy to see him start last week. Played about 70 minutes. He was 55 in base, 61 points. Good hold for me. Has been named on the bench this week with Bryce Cartwright starting. It was the same changes that was made last week, and on game day, Hopgood started. So they won 30-4. I don't see why that had changed this week. But, again, not ideal. But yeah, I do see Hopgood starting there.
Big result for us owners.
Big result.
Sunday Arvo was a nice little look. So, yeah, hope that continues.
Braden Burns and Declan Casey named on the wing for the Doggies. It's a bugger again for Drale Skelton, who's obviously down the pecking order on the wing there for the Doggies. His bottom dodder, Drale Skelton, I should say, and I looked at his stats in New South Wales Cup on the weekend. It was about 250 plus metres, 12 tackle bars. He just looks like a Supercoach weapon. So, but not there. So, Jake Granville named it prop last week on game day, and people got a bit excited at him as a potential trade in. And
has he played every position in the NRL? Gotta love him.
You know the best thing about it? He's not dual positioning Supercoach. He named it prop. He's historically a hooker. Has played at fullback, centre, wing, halves, whatever. He's not dual position.
Just give him everything. There's like a flex position in fantasy sports. Just give him that. Put him wherever you like.
Anyway, he's been named on the bench, so he's only available at hooker. I just don't think it's worth it.
Makes the decision easy though for those that were pondering. There's a lot of questions around Twitter. You just don't do it.
I don't think you should do
it.
Desi, I'll go to you, mate. Kalyn Ponga named to return for the Newey Knights. Now, first things first, great news for Greg Marju, because Pong comes in on the left edge and he's just going to put it on an absolute platter for Greg Marju. So that terrifies me as a non-Marju owner who thankfully came back to the pack last week. 530k, break even of 87, has a 1 in his rolling average. He could be like sub 450k in a couple of weeks potentially. So one to monitor. That being said, if he does stay fit, and geez, I hope he does for NRL fans worldwide, he'll get picked in Origin if he stays fit. So it'd be a hard one to jump on, wouldn't he, even at the price?
I'm tempted. It's
already?
I am, yep. It's kind of why I've been holding back in the 5A position. I chucked in Crosland there last week to partner with Katoa. Because I knew everyone would jump on Dylan Brown, who hasn't looked ideal. He got 60 last week, despite no try assists or tries. So
I think, did he have a try assist?
I don't think so. No,
3 dropouts.
3 dropouts. So
yeah.
he hasn't looked bad per se, but he's not up to what he was last season.
You know what he is doing though? He's playing 80 minutes, mate. Like Ponga, we've spoken about it ad nauseum. You couldn't trust him. If you played him in your 17. Could go out in those first 5 minutes again. Like, it's just such a worry. I think for your mental health and just enjoyment of footy, sit back, don't get Ponga in, watch the Knights, and just cheer him on and hope he does well. I think it's a massive bold play.
They also have the buy in a couple of weeks. The Knights. then there's Origin coming up. Like, if you're comparing him v Dillbags, Dill will play all 3 major Origin bye rounds. I don't know. I can't bring myself to do it, but...
No way is my answer.
That being said, huge watch, but... Yeah.
That doesn't mean he won't come out and get a ton, but it's the next 10 weeks you got to worry about. Then a trade, if he's out again with a head knock, he'll sit for a while, most likely. I don't like it. Find something else a bit quirky over there, mate, that you can do.
Desi, one I know that did catch your eye, and statistically speaking, for good reason. Kurt Mann, 473k. Obviously, the injury to Jaden Bailey there. Phoenix Crossland start at hooker went quite well and brought him in. Very happy about that. We'll touch on him later on. But Kurt Mann named to start at lock this week. He's 2 games back from injury. 69 points on the weekend. 56 minutes, 67 in base. We know there's a bit of attacking upside in him, in Kurt Mann. So the issue is Adam Elliott due back next week and has to eat into his minutes, doesn't he?
You'd think so.
They love him, though. They love Kurt Mann. They want him playing good time. So
as long as he's taking, 10, 12 runs a game, I think he's definitely one to watch because he's got that tackle bust ability. He can break the line. So as long as he's taking those runs, I think he's an option at that price.
The Tigers. Fair dinkum basket case. Promising young rookie, and we'll get to Spy shortly. Jareem Buller named at fullback. Now, I thought Charlie Staines was a shining light for them at fullback last game against Parramatta. Apparently not good enough for Tim Sheens and co, so they brought in a rookie to come and rescue their season. He might be a freak, but it's just a roulette in these key positions for the Tigers, Spy, and what? How the hell do you pick anyone and give them any confidence that they're staying in that side or that position?
Do we have an hour? In short, I can't believe we talk about it. My mates talk about it, but the Tigers just won't seem to give someone even a month. Even 4 weeks isn't very long to form combinations in rugby league and give yourself a chance. But regardless of that, Staines, he lit up the ball last week week before for Junior Tupou. He unlocked that outside back. His ball playing was good. He
safe as under the high ball.
It looked like he may have got caught out, possibly off a grubber to the back rower twice off Mitchy Moses, but that's been happening all year. It's very hard to defend that. He just looked good, and now he's back to the wing. How do you get meant to find continuity? And why are you bringing a young bloke in at 0-6? Give it a month. Just give him a month, ease him back in. If they're 0-10, probably even better time to bring him in then because the season's really gone then. I find it frustrating, but just on that, Sammy Walker not playing, if they're not on the phone to his manager already, then they are a basket case. Get him in there, offer him overs, just get him in.
Overs to go to the Tigers at the moment have to be at 2.5 million a season. Just lastly on the Tigers, look, I don't think it'll eventuate, but with what's going on there at the moment, who knows? Dane Laurie and Tommy Taylor, 2 outside backs named on the bench, so if that does stay like that for game day, Stefano Udcomano has to play big minutes. I don't think it'll happen, but anyway.
Just worth a mention, I'm not sure it's coming, but on Junior Tupou, he's someone I was quite interested in, but that doesn't help.
It's coming later.
No. Yeah, okay, let's get to that later.
Yeah. Ruben Garrick returns on the wing for Manly from that concussion. Josh Schuster returns. He's been named return for the 4th week in a row, and he will probably pull out tomorrow. Nelson Soft-Solomona returns for the Storm. Good for the entire side, realistically, and massive news for Harry Grant. He'll just get those quicker play the balls to work off.
I shuddered when I saw that.
Yeah, it's great news for
combination with Harry.
Nick Meaney, especially the ones where he just barrels over close to the line, falls just short, and Harry goes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nick Meaney returns at fullback. Cam Munster back to 5'8". Guys, if you do enjoy the SC Playbook content, all the effort that goes into the site, the podcast, the social medias, you can support it by subscribing to our NRL package for $40 or the full package, which covers NRL, AFL, BBL for $50. Gives you access to additional premium articles every single week on site. My big 3,500 word, whatever it is, team analysis, Supercoach analysis went up on site this afternoon. Subscriber only this week. Chops and changes week to week. Gives access to our WhatsApp community, different threads around game day, team advice, late mail, contributor only chat where we give our last minute trades that change up over the weekend, our skipper plans, all that sort of stuff. Access to our major unlimited group with a top prize worth $1,000. My Q&A podcast each week. Everyone can listen to it. Goes up on the SC Playbook channels. Only taking subscriber only questions. So head to the menu on site at scplaybook.com.au to find the subscribe tab there if that does interest you. Boys, our topic for this week is we're looking at the players that we are going to hold that we'd like to hold or sell through the Origin period. Specifically, it is the state of Origin players I'm talking about, and there will be a big analysis around the bye period to come with Spy's name written all over it. This is more focusing on the Origin players and the week following the bye. So there's 3 teams on the bye after the 3 major bye weeks, which I think people are probably overseeing a little bit. Looking at that, and then there's a game each week, 2 days after Origin on the Friday. So the quick backup, who plays in that? Now, first thing I'll say is that having had a good look into it today, it's not too substantial, not too bad. I'm sure the NRL, when they put the draw together, they thought of Supercoaches and made the draw, relevant to all that. So they've looked after us a little bit. So just quickly, it's in my squad breakdown article on the sites in the WhatsApp group. But round 14, so Origin 1, major bye round 13. Round 14, the Eels, Knights and Manly are on the bye. That week, on the quick backup, 2 days later, Tigers and Raiders. Supercoach Origin impact, you're looking at Kalyn Ponga, who would be out round 13 and 14. Tom Trbojevic, the same, a very significant one. DCE, not that anyone would really have him. And potentially Hamole Olakwatu if he gets an Origin call-up. They'd be missing 2 weeks in a row. Round 17, after the second major bye week. Dogs, Sharks, Tigers on the bye. On the quick backup, it is the Dragons versus the Warriors on the Friday night. Pretty damn good for us, guys. The only one that really gets impacted there is Nicho Hynes, which is significant because he misses round 16 and 17. That's if he makes Origin, of course, which I suspect he will, especially with the Jack White news. Surely Nicho gets in there.
Even if he's 17th, 18th man, surely he's there.
18th man, if nothing else.
Because they sit the week. So, the week leading in.
Round 20 on the bye, Dragons, Raiders, Rabbitohs. So there's a lot of, there's been a lot of Dragons, Raiders, Tigers action here. But on the quick backup, Knights and Tigers on the Friday night, the big impact here is the Rabbitohs players. Again, though, this is round 20. It's a long way away, but Latrell, Campbell Grain if he gets picked, Damien Cook if he gets picked, Cam Murray for sure, Cody Walker if he sneaks in at 5'8", and then once again there's Kalyn Ponga there on the quick backup. So just ones to look out for there, guys. The table is, as I said, on the website. Now, leading on from that, let's have a look at the players that we'd be looking to hold or sell, and I'll go through the key ones probably from last year's team first. And Desi, we're both Valentine Homes owners. Bloke, you'd be looking to hold or sell through that period?
I think you can get rid of Val over that period. Centre wing's a position you need to pot up in Supercoach. We all know this, so flick Val. I have no qualms doing it. The Cowboys haven't looked too red hot to start this season, but yeah, I think Val's definitely one you can get rid of.
The one good thing about him is that because the Cowboys are struggling, way less likely to get rested. So I do think, provided he comes through the Origin games, okay, he does back up. I tend to agree, though. I think I'll be holding through until round 13 and likely flip him then. But if he comes good, I don't hate the hold. But, yeah, more than likely he'll be a sell around about that time there.
Just on Val, I think he only plays 3 games in about 7 weeks, given the Cowboys draw.
There you go.
So he's an easy sell. But the more you look into it, you'll see he's a sell. But that's fine. I think there's questions around maybe selling him early. I think now that he's dropped in price, combinations coming back for the Cowboys, you probably just hold him through to Origin, don't you now? Unless
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless there's something, like if he's your ticket to Manu or Garrick or something, sure, but he's due a big one. He's going to turn up for us eventually.
He's averaging mid-60s, and I feel like he's done nothing this season.
Scoring tries every game, like fluky ones though.
Lots off, like the weekend was off a kick where it was just the straight 17. There was one couple of weeks before where he took an intercept. So the thing about these ones is you're not getting 10 for the line break. You're not getting any points for tackle breaks in that. Like instead of like a 30, 32-point play, it's 17. It's a pretty big swing. You're essentially doubling it.
Definitely. Is he also, worth noting, it's not a big one, but he's very windy in Auckland on the weekend. I think it was in Auckland, and he only kicked 1 from 3 or something, so no points there.
My suspicion is that the Cowboys haven't overhauled their team this week because they can't really afford to. They've got too many injuries through the middle with Jason Tamlo, the latest casualty. He's out for about 6 weeks. I think they've changed their game plan a little bit, and Valentine Holmes has to be at the forefront of that.
He's got to roam, doesn't he?
He has to.
He did a lot last year. He's not much at the moment, so it has to happen. Sure.
Peter Hiku did my head in. Peter Hiku, who struggled this season, and credit to Hiku, credit to Todd Payton for making the move, but last year when Hiku was doing that roaming centre role with Val, he did it on the weekend, swept on the other side and set up a try. I was like, Why isn't Val doing this? Anyway, I think they, at some point, the penny has to drop and they've got to get Val more involved. Yep. So I'll be holding Val to probably round 13, and then, as Spice said, misses a lot of action there. So the entire Origin period, we'll look at teams and players affected coming shortly. Harry Grant, Spy, you sold him. Talk to us about the reasons around that.
It's a pretty simple one. I mean, I wrote about 4,000 million words last week, but in short...
Free read on the website, still there, still relevant.
I put some effort into it, so it is worth a read if you've got some time, but...
Not as much as I put into editing it.
Yeah, apparently you don't like the symbol "and."
No.
Why don't just mention that? I can fix that up. I did not know this, people. Where was I? Harry Grant. So basically, selling Harry
allowed... That's what I deal with week to week, Des. Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, look. Selling Harry allowed me to go, essentially get two guns in, like genuine guns. It allowed me to go Isaiah Katoa to Dylan Brown, holding Reed Marnie. But if you have a look at the numbers across the Origin period, Harry will miss his games, potentially play limited minutes on backup. The numbers added up for me to get someone in cheaper.
Next week.
Would I sell him now after dropping another 50-60 heading into Warriors game with Nelson back? Probably not. That's a call I made last week, and it was tight. So I probably would hold now if you own, and it'll be a pretty nervous watch on Anzac Day. But, I mean, it's worth reading the article. Give us your thoughts on it. People have said, don't sell Grant. I'm like, have a read of the article. The numbers do add up. And
you got me thinking, Spite.
Yeah, so I think it's tight still. Closer to the Origin period, you can then look to potentially sell him at round 13 if you want, hopefully at more value, and then you get him back post-Origin. But he would be a little bit worrying to own during Origin, I think, if Melbourne keep putting wins on the board. So it just probably depends on a few things. What do you think?
I reckon he'll play... I think he plays. Probably more limited minutes throughout the Origin period. We saw it last year. We saw his scoring regress, Desi. So I'm certainly not. I'm watching the next few weeks with a plan to sell him probably round 13 and run with another hooker. If Damien Cook, New South Wales Blues hooker spot, that's pretty well wide open at the moment. There's a few different avenues they can go there. So I've half got my eyes set on Damien Cook potentially, but again, I'm just going to watch that. Maybe Harry's just the whole. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Cook will be New South Wales hooker. Who would I sell Harry to? Maybe Jeremy Marshall King or Reece Robson. Pretty much the only two guys I've got my eye on. Other than that, I think he's probably a guy that I'll probably hold the whole entire season. I have no qualms doing that, and maybe bring in a mid-tier hooker.
Just to partner him?
Yeah, just to run for a few weeks.
I don't mind that at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just worth noting, Benny Hunt, I don't know the exact numbers. I'm pretty sure they split minutes for Queensland last year, him and Harry. If he's only playing 40 minutes and Melbourne needs wins, that's all the more reason that he'd play 60 plus the weekend after. So that'd be a good thing. I don't mind the hold either. And to be honest, if he drops more in value, boys, I might get him back.
It might not be worth it if he does drop more.
You've also got to remember Brandon Smith was there to spell him at hooker over that Origin period. This year they don't have him.
And the other thing is,
for sure,
they're not exactly sitting high and mighty in the top four.
Flying.
So they need to win games. So yeah, it's a points taken. There has to be a decent replacement to warrant doing it. Just remembered as well, I chopped the that table out of my article for this week. Next week, Anzac Day on the Tuesday, absolute chaos for Supercoach content creation. Just, it's blowing everything out the window. So the team list come out Wednesday afternoon. Playbook podcast will be next Wednesday night. Beers and Break-Evens will be Wednesday morning. So I think I'll probably do a limited team list Tuesday or team list Wednesday yarn next week and put an extra article up around all that planning for Origin players.
To sum up, Harry, by the way, as a bit said there, hold for now if you still own and reassess round 13. I think it's probably as simple as that.
The halves, boys, for the Blues. Now, obviously, let's assume Nicho's in and around there somewhere. Let's assume Nicho's not available. We're all running Nathan Cleary, Nicho Hynes at halfback. Desi, do you see them as holds for that period, or are you copping the AE?
It depends what price they are, really. If they're 900k like they are now, I could be tempted to flick one to maybe like a Mitch Moses, try and jag a run from Moses or Jerome Hughes. Yeah. It is feasible. But if they're, 750, 800k, probably just hold. It's all price dependent.
Spy, it's very interesting because at the same time, we know that on the major Origin weeks, we only get 13 players anyway, so copying an AE is hardly the end of the world. As we touched on before, Nicho Hynes will miss, I believe, round 14, I said, after the first major bye week. So, yeah, how do you see it?
So the way I agree with Desi. I think it's important with those guys, you absolutely...
Round 17, sorry, Nicho Hynes.
17, yeah. So you absolutely hold Cleary and Hynes right up to Origin.
Oh, yeah.
That's a no-brainer. Then I think you reassess. If someone's going to add some value, you think you can plug someone in, do it. For me, I've got Cleary written as a hold here. They play St George on the Sunday after Origin 1. You wouldn't want to not own him for that. Yeah. So I think you hold him. Hynes, given he misses 16 and 17... maybe you sell him before that second buy, get him back. I think that's just an influx situation. Let's see how he's looking, how they're looking. You potentially get caught short round 17 without a halfback if they happen to rest Nathan, but they don't do it very often, Penrith. They're not renowned for resting people. So
Jerome Hughes misses the round 13 bye, but then plays the second major bye round. So, you know, you can be rest assured that there's going to be chat of Nicho Hynes to...
Hughes
Jerome
or Mitch.
Hughes or Mitch.
If 6 days.
If Nicho's pushing $1 million and either of them are, 600k, 700k, looking right, could be 400 cash grab, and an extra number over a couple of weeks.
Nicho plays St George round 18 between the two buys. You put 190 on.
The Jugs will get up for that week.
So, I mean, maybe. I'm thinking hold at the moment based on that.
Moving on, Desi, I know James Tedesco's one that you're eyeing this week, and I was too for a bit, but the Roos, I just think because they've got Joey Manu and Joseph Suaalii who can deputise at fullback so easily, and I think Teddy's he'll play all 3 Origins, and he's just a red-hot chance to rest following those games. So I'm just not confident he plays that many games over that period.
Everyone thought that last year, right? And I believe he didn't rest. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he's already had a rest this season. I actually don't see them doing it. I think Roosters need momentum. They need to get it. And if they do have it, they'll want him to keep playing and continue it. So actually, I think Teddy would be a fine hold.
The thing is, he's also going to come out and run for 280 metres each game and get battered and bruised and knocked about and Spy.
I'd be worried he'd get rested. But you might have the depth to cover that as well. It probably depends how the Chooks are going as well. At the moment, if it's right now, he'll play because they need wins. If they've got some momentum and they want to rest him up, their eyes on the I was going to say the playoffs, so I'm watching NBA, but on the NRL finals, that's where they want to be. That's where they want to be peaking towards. I think it's 50-50 as to whether he rests any of those games. It's really hard to tell.
Tommy Turbo is an interesting one, boys. Round 14, Manly have that bye, so won't play round 13, won't play round 14. Like, you think he's an enormous chance of getting rested after the Origin 2 and 3 as well. With so many good fullback options available. That being said, most of them are going to be like Teddy, Latrell, both playing Origin. Reece Walsh, smoky for Origin. What do you reckon, Des?
I think you could probably get away with selling him. Depends how his injury's going, I guess. He's just continually playing injured, so he hasn't really lit up the comp yet. No massive 180, 190 type scores. No one has really, except for Hynes that 1 week. So I wouldn't be too scared selling him and death riding him for a few weeks.
And what are your plans with Trell, mate?
Trell, I am tempted to hold him. He's scored 120 last week pretty damn easily. But yeah, he's also another one that you probably could sell. You can't sell both fullbacks though. I think you'd only probably sell one and then sell them to someone who's going to play.
With someone like Gutho, he's normally an Origin period stalwart who plays his 3 major buy-ins. It might be an option to whoever you hold, be it Trell or Teddy or Tommy Turbo, partner them with Gutho. In saying that, Eels and Manly have the buy around 14, so you'd be short of fullback there if you went Turbo on him. But yeah, how are you playing that one, Spy?
Given Tommy won't play 13 or 14, definitely. Very happy to sell him.
I think so.
What if you say, 600k at that point?
If he's 600k?
It's a pricing thing, right?
Hopefully I've sold him by then if he's 600k. Yeah. The issue would be, say he's 600k, means he's struggling and he's definitely playing hurt, in which case I wouldn't want to hold him anyway.
Agreed.
So I think for me, hard to see me holding him through Origin. They do have the Dolphins around 15 Friday night at Brookie Oval, so he could go well there. But I mean, it's one game. I think he also has Melbourne and the Chooks around that, so it's not the easiest of draws generally. I'd say he'd be one of the blokes I'll get rid of. So Valentine and Tommy, potentially hold the other boys.
And important to note on the Parramatta Eels, who have that round 14 bye, a team that we're all starting to flock towards because of their great Origin draw. They are on the bye in round 14. So if you're overloaded with them, and there's a lot of options, you can be caught a little short there, especially if you're holding Tommy Turbo, or you might have Kalyn Ponga there or something, also on the bye, plus players get rested. So
I think round 13 and 14, look at those together. Basically, when you're looking at round 13, also look at 14, make sure you're covered.
Guys, for anyone lucky enough to be tying the knot at the moment, you're probably panicking about the cost of the wedding and the honeymoon. Reduce the stress by having you under Paddy and George from Mortgage Choice SCW. They'll help you get a quick loan without any built-in hidden fees or penalties for paying off the loan early. They'll get you the best rate possible and you'll have it within 24 hours. Super easy process. Only needs a message to make it happen. They'll also make sure there's no nasty surprises and no exit fees, all in the one low monthly repayment. Best of all, it's free. Worth $129, they'll give it for nothing because you're listening to this podcast. So if you're getting in contact with them, make sure you mention you're an SC Playbook listener. If you're not on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, firstly, flick me a message at Pat and George Mortgage Choice. Otherwise, go to any of the articles on our site, on our website. There's an email there, QR code, phone number, anything you need to get in contact with them.
I'm actually chatting to them this week, 100%. Yeah, I've got to ask them a few things.
Yeah,
having a second baby in a few months, so I've got to sort a few things out. So
we'll
chat to the boys.
We'll be chatting to them myself. Actually, not for a personal issue, of course, but the too much for me, Spy. But fixed rate bloody loans are coming off at the end of the financial year, and every man and his dog's shitting the bed about it. So, wish I was in that position and had a house to do it. But
had to worry. Yeah, I'm not
so
either. Don't worry.
we'll have them on in coming weeks to talk about all that important financial stuff that's well out of my ballpark at the moment. Boys, let's get stuck into the hot topics of the week. Now, basing a lot of these most traded in and out players around prior to team news, so obviously record this about 4:30 every Tuesday, so a little time to tinker with all that. Boys, you're both Jacob Kiraz holders. A lot of questions this week around him, Desi, and what to do with Jacob Kiraz, if there's any merit in holding on to him. A lot of people are asking that. What do you think?
No, absolutely not. I think when he comes back, he's going to have a 150-odd break even, so he'll drop 100K over 2 weeks, I'd say.
Out 3 weeks.
Yeah, so you could probably pick him up in 5 weeks' time for 550K. Centre wing, we know it's a position that you need to grab guys that other people aren't. So you may as well sell him.
Yeah, he's in a side that's been decimated with injury. Poor old doggies, they're bloody cursed at the moment. And that he's got that 6 in his rolling average for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He could lose 150, 200K. And even if he puts up 2 good scores, that's still 100K cheaper. With blokes like Garrick and Manu available, if you don't own them,
Have to sell.
it's just to sell. In
Easy
a different year, maybe. But, yeah, get rid of him. Don't overthink it. And you're also going to be worrying about when he's actually going to play. They could push him back. You just don't know. So, gone.
Boys, the most traded in at the time of putting the notes together was Ruben Garrick. And this is despite a 127 break even. Now, first and foremost, good work, super coaches. They're not getting fixated on that break even. And they've seen the light and gone, he could smash that against the Tigers and not lose any money and have a 180 in his score. He might not. He might get 40. But I think it's just a win for common sense that, it's not all about the break even. So the way I'm going to phrase this one is, now that Joey Manu has been named at 5'8" and he's been pretty popular, Spy, if you could go Ruben Garrick or Joey Manu this week, only one, who would it be?
Manu.
Because I think we agree they're both great trade-ins.
I'd take Manu. Only because he got 191 against them last year. We saw what he can do at 5'8", but I'll tell you what, it's not a clear win because Garrick, Schuster's back, that's huge for that left edge, huge. They're going to hum. So as long as he plays, Garrick could have a field day.
What do you reckon, Desi?
Yeah, I agree with Spy. It's very close. I think Garrick's last 3 scores against the Tigers have all been tons, so I expect him to ton up again. But yeah, Manu has that 190 potential in him. I think you can't go past it. I think he's a good captain choice this week.
I think Garrick has 190 in him as well,
He
to be
definitely
fair.
does.
So, look, yeah it's a tough...
And you know what? Originally I was looking at the Tigers and going, showed a bit of ticker against the Eels, and I love teams off the bye. They're just fresh. They've had time to think. They're good to go. The other side might be a little bit. Then they name that team, and I'm just like,
They'll probably beat Manly.
no, I don't know.
Anything could happen. They'll have to win eventually.
Yeah.
You'd think.
Boys, Ryan Madison has come in this season with an absolute bang. Now, he's one of the most traded in players this round, and, I mean, he's playing big minutes. I will say that on the weekend he reverted to lesser game time, and I think it'll be closer to his norm. So he's averaging 76. He played 61 minutes on the weekend. I think the weeks prior they were inflated by injuries. They're packed back to full strength now. He scored 89, but there was a fair few attacking stats in that. What do we think about Maddo, Desi?
He's a stud. He always has been. Look at those averages over the past few years, 75, 65, 66, 76. Like, you know that he's going to average 70 pretty much. You can just chuck him in and be done with it. I have no qualms doing it, but I probably won't.
Maxi King, 5th most traded in this week, 610K. Look, I'd be lying if I said I love it, and it's for similar reasons to what I mentioned with Matt. I like Matt as a trade-in, so I think it's a good move, particularly with Origin coverage.
Just on Maddo, I think he'll average what he averaged last year. Same role, similar minutes. That you can mark that down. If that's the average you want from your side, do it. If not,
he's not overpriced. He's not underpriced.
Yeah, he's about on the money.
Yeah.
Maxi King, 610K. There's just real Tom Gilbert vibes to me. Like with Maxi King, he's now 610K. He's averaging 64, and he's been outstanding. He's got no scores under 50 this season, high score of 80, which is on the weekend. But the minutes have been seriously inflated by injuries during the game. So his low minutes this season have been 55, 54, and 51. And they're games with lesser injuries in them. So the games where he's played more, it's because of these. Like the poor old doggies, something's got to turn at some point. And I think he does regress to that maybe 55 to 60-minute player. And that's fine. He'll still score well. He's absolutely not going to hurt you. He's rock solid, Maxi King. But I just still want to be chasing that higher upside front rower, whether you're paying up for Payne Haas. Joe Tappaney's solid. I'm very happy to own him, especially with the early buy coverage. But he's sort of not quite hitting his straps, just knocking out 60s. But Tino Fasuamalawi, he'll be cheap in a few weeks, but then as Origin. So, look, I get it, but there's no round 13 coverage for Max King, so I don't see the appeal there as an extra number. Look, I'm just not that keen on him.
I feel like whoever you're bringing in, trading out, for King, it's probably sideways. Without even looking at who you're trading. And
that's where I want my front, and why I'm happy with Taps, because if you're trading in a front rower, I think you just want to be a keeper where you're like, all right, I'm bringing them in and barring injury or whatever, I want them to sit there and not waste any more trades on front row.
That's it.
Because it's a trash position.
Let me ask you something, Timmy. TPJ or Max King? Who are you taking?
Probably TPJ. That being said, TPJ scored like 53rd in the weekend, and I think he offloaded 7 times.
Yeah. But the Bulldogs, I was saying to Spy, they're not playing particularly well. They need him to, spark something. He's going to run sideways.
TPJ?
Yeah, he's going to be running sideways across the field, getting tackle bars, throwing offloads, trying to do something.
It showed on the weekend, they're like, mate, go out there and free that arm. Yeah. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm not buying TPJ, but at a cheaper price, I'd probably go TPJ first. I don't feel good about saying that, but I'm also buying neither of them. I don't think either of them are good buys.
Thing with King is, barring something going wrong, which probably bloody will, the poor doggies, he's locked into those minutes. He's not likely to lose his head and get suspended. I think Tavita would have to have even more upside, maybe like from 4 or 5 years ago, in order to warrant that risk. But yeah, look, you could be onto something. I think just you want Tavita's minutes to be pretty good. Is he going to go better than sort of the last couple of seasons? I'm not so sure. I'm not overly keen on either of them, to be honest.
Boys, Will Pensini, flying under the radar this season, one of Spy's boys. Now, Pensini is at, what do we got here? Averaging 66 for the season, 98 on the weekend against the Doggies. Again, it was a depleted Doggies. Last 2 seasons, averaged 51 and 42. Basing 37. Outstanding. Elite CT dub base. Good few weeks. Tough game this week, Broncos into Knights, Titans, Raiders, Bunnies. Cowboys in round 13. Obviously that great Parramatta coverage. like him, don't love him. There are too many high ceiling CT dubs to target for me, Desi.
I agree. The base has always been there. It was last year as well. I think they're going to him probably a little bit more this year.
They definitely are. He's getting some good ball.
The ceiling kind of, he turned up this week, didn't he? So
98.
The ceiling, it could get bigger. I reckon he's got a 130 in him. But like we said, he probably doesn't have the Garrick 180, 190 in him. So
he's got the ton in him and a decent sized ton, but there might be one of them where he's like Garrick, Manu, Kiraz, the best CT dubs. They can do it 3 weeks in a row, and 2 of them could be 180. So
I think he's a solid player to bring in with some limited but okay upside who plays some good buys. If you can cover round 14, I don't hate him, but look, I think I'd probably look at him closer to the origin period than now.
Yeah.
Not sure you need to grab him just yet.
No.
It's not a bad run though, so maybe, yeah. But, yeah.
Junior Tupu, 8th most traded in, 436k, neg 27 break even. Boys, we spoke off air and you boys had a bit of interest in it. I have none. I have no faith in the Tigers. His base is like 15 or 16 a game or something terrible. A winger, he's 436k. He's not 220k. Like, I don't really get it, to be honest. Spy, you don't mind him.
I had half a thought to bring him in. He's coming off the back of 120 odds, so he's guaranteed to make cash next couple of weeks. You could bring him in, see how he goes. That was before Charlie Staines got shifted to the wing because he gave him some good service last week. New fullback in. Is he going to get much footy? We have no idea. Tigers keep chopping and changing. I'm not as keen anymore. I thought he might be a bad plug-in for maybe a downgrade or for a Kiraz or someone to free up cash. But now I'm not so sure. He's also playing Penrith next week. Not as keen. But the beauty of if you did lock him in, you might be able to hold him through till the origin period and he might be able to average 50 plus for you at 430k, which isn't bad. Guess, can this young fullback pass? We'll find out on the weekend, but you're taking a pretty fair risk.
God. I mean, like Tim Sheens has shown... He's shown how quickly he's willing to drop players. So
as you said, his base is pretty low as well. He can tackle bus though, like really.
He's good.
He's a big, strong player.
He's good. He's just in the wrong
half.
team.
Yeah.
It's no knock on him. He's very raw though as well. Like a lot of defensive deficiencies in him. So like, there's just nothing to say that Sheens can go and you're gone. Joey Tapney, 5th most sold player. Now Raiders on the bye this week. That's why people sort of looking for a front row. But early bye coverage. Averaging 62, low score this season of 57. No tries, no try assist, not offloading very often, basing 55 per game. Desi, like, surely he's a hold.
Sell him to Payne Haas. Payne Haas is the man. I think that's probably who people are selling him for. Hasn't missed a tackle yet in Supercoach. Old Payne.
Also in real NRL, he hasn't missed a tackle. You mentioned that the other day.
You're paying up 100 extra 130k for him though. So Payne Haas is averaging 18 more, and everything is going right for him in the sense that he's dragging some attacking stats, he's offloading a lot, he's playing big minutes, taps are scratching the service. Now, first and foremost, who would I prefer own? Payne Haas, absolutely, but I don't, and I think it's a silly trade. Payne Haas is coming up to Origin, where the Broncos are top of the table. He's going to play limited minutes through that period. He's a massive chance at getting rest post-Origin, and he won't play the 3 major bye weeks. Do you really think it's worth making that move?
No. But people will do it.
But people are.
People will do it.
I've run the numbers, boys, in the car today. Had a bit of time up my sleeve, so all going well. Best case, Haas plays 9 games till the end of Origin now, given his Origin schedule. That's with no rests, okay? Plays 9. If he averages 70 to 75, he scores about 630 to 670 points over that period at his price. Bearing in mind he's a lot more expensive, so you buy him, you offset some damage in the rest of your side. Tarpany has 10 games. If he averages 65, which is probably nearly a lot to do, could be more. Worst case, it's
could
63.
Easily be more.
He scores 650 points, so he gets about the same amount of points with 100 and whatever extra cash, which you can use for for boosting your side. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer.
And that's
with
very,
Haas.
that's a conservative approach to it.
Yeah, and Haas could maybe get up towards 80, but where I think it falls back is post-Origin. Surely he's not pumping out massive minutes if Brisbane are still doing well. So
if they've got 3-day backups, even if he does play, as if he's playing like big minutes in games, like Brisbane are humming as well. So if any of those games they do get out to decent leads, who's the first bloke going to the bench?
Yeah, and obviously if you own him now, you're laughing because he's on fire. Gee, he looks good.
And that's it. And like, and there's a good little sledge later coming, so I'll bring it up now. It was from Raging Bob. He says, I'm wondering if Payne Haas is a buy still and why you guys weren't all over him in the preseason. Started unders due to playing half of last year busted, had no buys pre-origin and he's the best front row forward in the comp. The one that got away was still time to get on the train.
Bob goes whack.
Yeah, Bob goes bang. And fair Bob.
Yeah, you got to cop it when you get one.
Yeah, and he has been unreal. So I'm not looking to get him in probably until after Origin. He's hard to watch, but he's also not killing us. I wish I owned him. If you're flipping someone like, Christian Welch to him or Stefano, and you've got that money and you can do it and do it, sweet. I just don't think Tapani's the right man to do it.
Tapani will get better and better.
Yeah.
That's just what he does traditionally. So, yeah.
So will Payne Haas.
Also, me and Desi.
Payne Haas will not get better.
He will get better.
No, he won't.
He will.
No,
you
he won't.
reckon between now and end of Origin period, Payne Haas averages more than 80?
Might have to double our
He
bet.
might. Absolutely, he could.
I think you're
There's
joking.
nothing
I'll take
stopping
that
him.
as well because
He is
Desi and I have a bet
unbelievable.
going Haas versus Tapani for the rest of the season
I've already won it.
per average.
I've already won that.
And we also got Garrick versus Kiraz. So that's all happening. But add that 80 on and I'll take that to the bank, mate.
Yes. Anyway, interesting watch there. Boys, Jacob Preston, 8th most sold. Break even 71. Jacob Preston can't be your biggest issue, can he, Desi?
No, but
Didn't you tell me you
yeah, I mean, he scored 59 last week with a line break. He's not going to continue getting those attacking stats. Like, I feel like he's overachieved so far in terms of attacking stats, and his base is probably, roughly 45, 50. Mm-hmm. There's merit in it. The Bulldogs are not fantastic.
But even the last 2 weeks, because of the in-game injuries and the quick turnaround against the Bunnies, as we were saying, everything that could go against them has. So, they got pumped by the Bunnies, they got pumped by the Eels, a lot more stoppages as a result, ball out of play. Oh, God, he's the least of my
I think
issues.
he's a gun.
Yeah, so do
If
I.
you've got no other issues, though.
Let's keep in mind this is his first season in the NRL.
So
I
good.
think he's
He's
only going
on
to
the
get
left
better.
edge now.
On the left edge outside Birdo.
Kick-out's gone, so that combination will get better and better.
This could be just Eli Katoa all over again, though. We think he's going to be a keeper. Is he a keeper?
Possibly, yes.
I'm holding Eli Katoa as well.
He's in the same boat for me. Gun.
Fair enough.
I am more prone to selling.
I just
Ellie
think they're
than Preston.
over-owned. They're over-owned at the top end of the rankings. If you want to move up the rankings, you've got to sell these guys.
Maybe. 19 weeks.
There's going to be people who outscore Preston. You've got to find someone that's going to do it.
19 rounds left. Let
Panicking.
it go. Lock him in, find somewhere else.
Sitting next to 2 crisis merchants here. Just relax, boys. Guys, each round of the season we'll be producing an exclusive SC Playbook market of our own through betr. We've got access to integrating official NRL Fantasy markets into our betr plays. You will not find these NRL Fantasy plays anywhere else, on any bookie. We're the only one who's got access to them. In the world of punting, probably, I assume. Especially NRL Fantasy.
Estonia have it, I think.
Estonia may have NRL Fantasy markets. A lot of people have been asking why we can't get, why Fantasy, not Supercoach. Couldn't get access to Supercoach. Simple as that. We've got NRL Fantasy, so the next best thing in
Fair
terms
enough.
of markets. So if you do want to check it out, our SC Playbook betr multi this week, $3 for Nicho Hynes to score over 65 plus official NRL Fantasy points into a Will Kennedy try in that game. To follow along, you can find a link to the market in any of our articles at scplaybook.com.au or in our YouTube description. By going through those channels, it lets betr know that we sent you. So if you're doing it, that'll be much appreciated. Important to remember that you win some, but you lose more. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Boys, let's get stuck into our round 8 trades and skippers. And I'm going to start with you, Spy, because I'm about to blast you.
Let's go. All right, it's been a very serious show. I've been trying to be in the zone today, but let's have a chat. Trade 1, Kalyn Pereira to Hayes Dunster. Unless I can find someone just floating around there that I like, but I think Dunster's the boy at that price. Trade 2, Kiraz to Manu. That goes out saying.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Pretty easy. Trade 3.
What?
Boost number 5.
Jesus Christ.
It's pretty good, though. Warbrick to Garrick as my 17th player this week. Talk to me. Hate it. Love it. Come at me and I'll tell you why I don't mind using my 5th boost.
Desi, do you want to go first on me? You go, mate.
To be honest, I like it.
Thank you, Desi.
I like it. I don't mind using all the boosts. I know Timmy doesn't like it. He wants to save them for the bye rounds.
I can see why you've won a title, mate.
There's merit in doing it. You get all the players you want as fast as possible.
Which has been my plan all along.
Yeah.
I want everyone that I love, these are the last 2 of the puzzle, and I want them this week with good runs.
These are players who can big time hurt you this week if you don't get them.
Or I hold that boost to make 30 points in a bye week in 10 rounds.
What happens when Garrick gets concussed next week though, and then has to sit 6 weeks out because of it? And then all of a sudden you don't have all the players that you don't want, and also you don't have any trades to get the next person in.
We've got 29 trades left.
You've used 3 more trades than me already, and your 5 boosts. And you know what? When we get to the end of the Origin period, where I've just said, like, if you want to use 4, you do use Spy. But save 1 for after the 3rd major Origin round when we're trying to piece our sides back together as quickly as possible. You're not a head-to-head player. You know your overall, or have you changed to head-to-head and you're trying to...
Always overall, mate.
Yeah, because it's a very head-to-head player where you're like, I'm just trying to get my 17 together as quickly as possible and then run with it.
When those 2 boys make 300 this weekend, I'll come back.
They can do it. They can do it. I mean,
they will.
I'll own them both, so I'm happy for it to happen.
Won't worry,
but it's just like that. When you're run out of trades at the end of the season, you're going to be in all sorts. And when we get to the bye period and you've got 4 players running out each week.
All right, listen to the numbers. 29 trades left. Players to bring back post-Origin. Tommy Turbo, Valentine if I want him. That's it. That's the only 2 I'm selling off. Round 13, I've already got 10 players out of 13. Round 16, I've already got 16 players, which is crazy. I just checked that before. So I'll flip a few of those guys for round 19 guys, who I've got 9 already. I need 13. I don't need many trades. I only need 5 more trades.
Yeah, good numbers, but you're not implementing injuries and restings and all these sorts of things. Like
that's my other 20. I only need about 9 more, and I'll hold the other 20 for chaos, which will come, of course.
We'll see. Desi, what are your trades?
I think I'm just going to go the 1, which is going to be Kiraz to Manu. That's about it.
A man with a bit of self-control. Tarusi's been off for a few weeks, so I'm glad Desi's here.
I'm 270 points off Desi up on top of our league there, so I might try and roll it back this weekend. Coming hard.
My trade plans have changed a little. I was going to be going Isaiah Katoa to Dylan Brown until the Joey Manu news. I now think I'll go Khan Pereira up to Joey Manu. I've just then got to free up about 30 or 40K in the next trade. So I need to really assess the best trading options. It might be someone like Alamotti or Warbrick down to, like, say, Dunster. If we get word that Nick Kotrick's hammy is a bad one, which it seemed very minor on the weekend, so I'd be surprised, maybe Croak, but I'm just going to look at the best money-making options. I'll be back on Beers and Breakevens in the morning. Hopefully have a bit more info by then around trades. If not, it'll be in the WhatsApp. Oh, the listener Q&A on Thursday. So,
Don't you own Brown yet? Not enough boosts.
I've got Phoenix Crossland. I don't need him.
Yeah.
Phoenix Crossland, I was surprised Moore didn't jump on. Played like 67 minutes. Got through a fair bit of work. Went toe-to-toe with the Panthers. I was worried the Panthers were going to pump the Knights. And they'd be like, all right, see you, Phoenix. You had a good run. But
Could be a handy pickup.
296K, break-even of 0. Made 30-odd K last week. Pretty happy with him so far.
Could be a very good
Didn't
pickup.
take a single run, though.
I know, I saw
But
that.
still scored a try.
That's Penrith.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's Penrith.
You just ride it off against Penrith.
Anyway, if I do that, I'll have to... I wanted to strengthen up my 5'8" spot this week, but the Katoa matchup with the Dolphins doesn't particularly scare me. So if I need to play in one more week, I'm not too against that.
I'm not going to trade for 3 weeks after this. Just heads up.
You can't trade because you've got none left, mate.
Maybe
the Water Boys also.
Just perks up over there.
Spy, you skippers. Interesting week for skippers. Now, Nicho Hynes versus the Dogs. Depleted Dogs. Tommy Chaboyevich versus the Basket Case Tigers. And then throwing into the mix now, Joey Manu at 5'8" against the Dragons, who put 191 on last time. What are your plans?
I'm Nicho, skipper. But yeah, there's some good options. The reason I don't want Turbo, which would have been the plan all along, is I just can't trust him at the moment. I think he's carrying that hit pointer. He must be. He came out really hard out of the box last Friday night, which is good to see. But as the game wore on, he probably wasn't quite at his best physically. It's my only real concern there. If it wasn't Nicho versus the Dogs, I'd probably have him regardless. And if it wasn't Manu on Anzac Day at 5'8". So I think if I wasn't going Nicho, I'd go Manu as my second choice and Tommy at 3. But I just think Tommy's a bit of a risk, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he goes 180. Like he absolutely, it just depends on how he is physically, to be honest with you.
I don't think he's going to go 180. I don't think. I mean, I'm almost tempted to send him to Tedesco. Honest to God.
You're tapped.
I think Teddy could go enormous the next month or so leading into Origin. It's his time of year, this time of year for Teddy.
I agree, and at the price, but to get rid of Tommy, Tigers and Titans.
You can't do it against the Tigers. Anyone else?
Or the Titans next
I'd
week,
be selling him.
They're hardly defensive stalls. I don't mind your logic. Like, Teddy's cheap, but then he goes into Origin. Roosters haven't clicked yet. But yeah, like, I don't mind where your head's at.
Tell you another thing. Yeah. Joey Manu will chew points out of James Tedesco.
He'll hurt him. Definitely.
He doesn't pass it. When they're sweeping out the back, Teddy gets so many of his points with those sweeping out the back, tip on, try, assist or try. Manu doesn't pass.
Teddy will get it on the left, though, so it'll come. But yeah, on that right edge, they might not get to the fourth tackle.
But we see what Sammy Walker does in the halves for them, and him and Kiri both, they chop and change, play both sides, as if Joey Manu's going to stay to one side. He'll play both sides.
It certainly doesn't help him.
No.
That's for sure.
Manu's going to feed Teddy in for a hat-trick.
It'll happen.
Have
you ever seen Joey Manu pass a football?
I have.
This one time.
He's got try assists.
The other thing is, this is what I mention every week as well, but I'll be heavily awaiting NRL Physio's recap of the round. It's probably already out, and just see what he thought about Tommy. He's so good at watching close and saying, yeah, it's a hit point potentially. By next week, he'll be sweet. Could be a few weeks. That's sort of pretty key info. So I just can't trust Tommy unless he says to me he's good to go. Yeah.
For me, I'm very tempted by Tommy Choi, if I'm being honest. And as I said, we'll keep an eye out for the god that is NRL Physio's word during the week. But I'm leaning towards Nicho just as the safe. My concern is that firstly, the Tigers off the bye. Teams off the bye scare me, as I mentioned before, just because they're fresh. Turbo, injury concern, and even if they do get out to a good lead early and Ches has maybe got a bunch of the attacking stats, Tommy's prime candidate for an early shower.
Definitely.
They've actually named, I believe, a 4-forward bench. I need to double check that. But KO Weeks, I'm sure he was named off. I'll check it in a sec. I'm sure he was named off the bench. So that would help, but could also change come game day. So yeah, leaning towards Nicho, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted by Tommy Turbo. Boys, few questions before we wrap it up.
Just Desi? Oh, I've gone mad.
I'm going Manu.
Sorry. Yeah. I do that way too often.
Manu? Joey's the C.
It's going to be fun to watch on Tuesday.
Good week of skippers. Really good.
Yeah, Nicho just seems not the obvious, but he's so good. 3 different skippers, maybe.
Does he average 100, though?
You've got to love it. Well, he's averaging 123 at the moment. Yeah.
First question from John. I brought in Latrell 2 weeks ago for Turbo, which was a masterstroke. Now I want Turbo back, but my other fullback is Walsh. What do I do? Does it make sense to sell Walsh for Turbo? This is an interesting one because I was really looking at it, and then I saw that Walsh is available for round 13. I don't think he plays Origin, but 800k, been on fire, but Parramatta this week in Darwin, then the Bunnies, then Manly, then Storm, then Panthers. It's a tough draw, and look, he's been outstanding, but let's face it, he's had a really good draw. Cowboys, Dragons, Dolphins, Tigers, Raiders, Titans.
It's a wonder draw.
I think he's at his peak price.
It's a wonder draw.
And I also think he's got, a 20 in him here or there.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I'd make the trade because of round 13, but I see why.
I'm reasonably sure Walsh will have a 40 or 50 coming sooner rather than later.
I'll go one more. I reckon he'll have a 25-30.
That'd be, yeah.
The other thing is, Adam Reynolds, I haven't seen a lot of word around it. There's potentially didn't train with the main squad today. A little bit of doubt. Walsh is also next up to kick if Reynolds misses.
And he's a gun.
And
doesn't miss many. I can see the merit in trading Walsh as a sort of an aggressive tactic, and I know what Desi will say. He'll love this. You'd be a sell Walsh, wouldn't you, potentially?
To Teddy, not Turbo.
Yeah, to Teddy, not Turbo, yeah. Not to Turbo, though, heading into these 2 weeks?
No, I
Tigers,
don't
Titans?
think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not that hot on him.
Boys, Cashmore Will. Is Nikora a 2RF keeper? Sharks have a great draw. Unreal Hynes combo. Won't play Origin. Is this the week this season where he finally hits his Supercoach height and becomes a keeper? Averaging 76. He scored 4 tries in 6 games. He's basing 47. Not elite, but good enough for a bloke with high attacking upside. What do you reckon, Desi?
I like him. I always have. Had him in 2019. Chucked him in centre wing.
That's right, he's dual. Oh,
He's
How
unreal.
good.
He doesn't take enough runs for how good he is. He only seems to run it really in the attacking 10. That's when they give it to
he
him.
does his damage.
Yeah.
His combo with Nicho.
If he keeps scoring tries, he'll be absolutely a keeper.
He had 10 runs last week for 10 points because they were all in the attacking zone, so he had nowhere to run. But as you say, that also leads to a lot of tries. I think he scored 4 in 6 games. He's got about 6 line breaks. I think he's probably priced about what his max might be.
Yeah.
Not saying he's not a good option, but you need him to keep up those attacking stats.
They've got the bye around 13, so I think I'm just going to assess for another month, see if he can keep it up, and if he does and that combo goes nuts, maybe from afterwards, maybe from round 14.
14 and then lock him in for the year potentially, but there's like Crichton, there's blokes like Sean Lane dropping in value. There's going to be some options there to end the year for sure.
Question from Z Brunton. Frustrated, hectic cheese owner, Brandon Smith, of course. Can I get enough points out of him or do I trade up? Desi, what are your thoughts on the cheese? He's going
What's he cost?
okay. He's going all right, but not...
He'll only get better, I think, the cheese. I think he's averaging 50 in the last 4 games. isn't he?
450k, 36 break
I'll keep
even.
him. Yeah. What's he playing? Like
Base is
60
nothing.
minutes?
Base is like 28.
Chooks will get better. He'll get better. The more go forward they get with blokes like Crichton back, he's going to get better and fitter. I actually would nearly look at potentially bringing him in for Origin at that price rather than selling.
He's the sort of mid-ranger
Just
you
your
need.
backup hooker. He can sit in there. Yeah. He's got tries coming, surely.
Last question from Connor O'Loughlin. Worth looking at big Corey Horsburgh. 70 minutes through the middle last week. 480k. Could be a Moali upgrade or Stefano downgrade. Moali finally hit his straps last week. I sold him, of course. But regardless, Corey Horsburgh. Always promised a lot in Supercoach. Has a big tank. Got a great offload on him. What do you reckon, Spy?
Not offloading this year. Interesting.
Isn't
So
it?
that has
Yeah,
to be
right.
tactical at the Raiders. Hopefully it
Oh, it
changes.
pissed me off.
I think he's only offloaded once
There's
this
not
season.
a lot of X factor in this side, and we're not offloading through our 4-pack, which is our best attribute.
Hopefully it comes. For me, no. I can't trust those minutes to be regular. You just don't quite
The only
know.
game we've offloaded this year was against Brisbane, and we upset the ladder leaders.
Yeah. So no for me on Corey. I think there's too much risk involved. There's better options. Yeah.
Boys, we'll wrap that up for the SC Playbook podcast for NRL Supercoach Round 8. Desi, thank you as always, mate.
Cheers, boys. Good luck this week.
Spy, good luck with going to sleep knowing you've got no trades left for the rest of the season.
My gut knows what's doing, and I feel very comfortable. Also, the big news, boys. Kepi's back.
He's back.
In case I needed him last week, but
Too late.
hopefully, plays the buys for me. So yeah.
Righto, guys. Good luck this week, and thanks for tuning in.